Hey, welcome back. It's an exciting Tuesday, and we want to start the week off right and try to finish strong. Today, we're trying to do book 134. This is important thing that energizes us, so we want to take our time and do the thing that matters to us that bring meaningful work and meaningful relationships. So here we go, book 134, The Power of Regret. So let's hear it, Chris.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. So Daniel Pink, another Daniel Pink book, and I've like really grown to like his writing style. There's something about the way that he can condense down like a single topic into something that has very actionable knowledge that is being shared about the topic itself, and then takeaways of how to go apply that into your life. He just does a great job of condensing down these really broad topics into really digestible formats and then easy takeaways you can go and apply it to your life. So I don't know if you've read this one.
I have not.
Did you? I know you've read a Daniel Pinker book before, right?
I think I read Drive.
Yeah, that's one it
Yeah,
is. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And then When is another one we've covered in this journey.
yeah. We did.
And then I did another one too. I can't remember what that one was, but yeah. Anyway, Daniel Pink.
Did we do a podcast on the other one?
Oh, it was yeah. We did it on When. That was like one of the
Right,
first
right,
ones, and then the other one was Free Agent Nation. Yeah, that was the
right,
other
right.
one. Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, so Daniel Pink, becoming a big fan of his for sure. Actually, I've never used this is my new computer, and I've never actually used this yet in terms of screen sharing.
You
I
got a Mac
gotta,
though, right?
I do, yeah. So hey, share your screen for the
Okay.
reflection, if that's okay.
So we talk.
And while you're sharing it, I'll just do a quick overview of the book. So the power of regret. The subtitle of this one is how to look backwards, or how looking backward moves us forward. This book is all about regrets. It's all about understanding how regrets and why they happen, and the psychology behind it, the neuroscience behind it, the biology behind it, the benefits that it has, and then how it can help drive us forward to help us to be a better human being, I guess, in general. So I started this reflection off with the reflection title, by the way, is Harness the Power of Regret to Turn Your Pain into Purpose. And I so badly wanted it to say no regrets. Have you ever seen that movie, We're the Millers, with, I think it's Jason, the guy that was Ted Lasso? What's his name? Whoever Ted Lasso is, the actual dude that does Ted Lasso. He was in this movie called We're the Millers, and he has this daughter that's like a teenage daughter, and they're driving around in this RV. And I think they stay at some like RV park or something like that. I don't remember the movie very much at all. Honestly, it wasn't a good movie.
Hmm.
His daughter meets this guy who's like this tatted up dude at one of their stops on the RV camp, and she's introducing this guy to her dad and his mom, who are really straight laced, like cookie cutter, polo wearing kind of people. This guy, has a tattoo across his chest that says "No regrets," like RAGRETS, and the dad's like, "You don't have any regrets about your tattoos?" And
No,
he's asking, he's like, "No, man, no regrets. That's what my life is."
there's no regrets.
But he spelled it wrong. So every time I hear the word regret, all I can think of is the guy that he's like, "No regrets." Anyway,
Right.
it's a funny scene. I digress. The topic of
You
regret,
regrets?
the topic of regret personally is kind of hit me really hard over the past couple of years, specifically around Amelia. As anybody that's been following along this journey, they would probably garner by now what happened to my daughter. She was born at 22 weeks old, weighing just a little over a pound, and we have no idea why. We went to the doctor one day and had an ultrasound. Everything was fine. 3 days later, we were in the ER with my daughter being born, and my wife and I and our family's life changing forever. So she survived. Most of my for 39 days, like they're filled with a ton of memories and a ton of good memories, but also a lot of painful memories. And a lot of those memories are a lot of regrets. Like I went through this whole entire reflection, just kind of thinking through like all of my regrets, right? I regret not noticing my wife's labor earlier and taking her to the hospital faster to maybe give Amelia some more time to grow and be nurtured while we were in the hospital or something along those lines. I regretted not taking more photos in the delivery room because my wife and we were so shell shocked, didn't know what was going on. Like we were crying, happy, sad, like scared, but we only took like one or two photos. And that was because like we didn't know what to do. Like we didn't know if we should celebrate the moment or if we should not. And then she was whisked away, and come to find out like later on down the road, that was right when COVID was happening. So
Hmm.
that was really one of the only times that my wife and I and our daughter were ever really be together until her last couple of days when things got really bad, and they finally let us break the COVID restrictions because they weren't allowed to have two parents there next to her at any time. the biggest thing that I regret with her was not doing more kangaroo sessions, which I don't know if you know what a kangaroo session is. Preemies need skin to skin contact. They're in these little shells and cases all the time. They call them an isolette. Humans need touch. It helps them to heal. It helps them to breathe better. It helps them to connect with their parents and to know that there's people out there that love them. My wife would always do the kangaroo sessions once with Amelia. She's a lot braver than I am. I was always terrified to get her sick, and she was so tiny. And I just didn't want to do anything to screw it up. So I only ever did one kangaroo session. It took me almost 2.5, 3 weeks to work up the courage to finally do it. And then, by the time that I did it, fast forward a week later, and she was in a really bad state, and we weren't able to kangaroo anymore. So I, immensely regret not spending more time with her, with more kangaroo sessions, because I was too afraid. I know you've read the book, so you know this one where I really regret not being there the morning of her minor procedure that turned into the major procedure that ended up ultimately taking her life. I was always there in the mornings, and I let work tire me out. And I asked my wife for a day off, and I know that she doesn't handle those kind of situations well. And even if she would have, I still would have rather been there, because I don't know. It was just my job as a dad. It was to be there during that time, and I wasn't there. And, I regret all the pain that she was in the last few days and seeing her in that state. And I regret that my family never got a chance to say goodbye to her in person and to ever meet her. I mean, I really regret that. They were, none of my family was ever able to meet her. None of Felicia's family was ever able to meet her. And, I regret having to take her life, end her battle. I regret having to even make that decision, right? Like the worst decision I've ever made in my life. And I regret that any of us had to be put in that situation. And then finally, I regret that the world never got to meet her, because she was the most amazing person ever. So like, that's kind of what my mission is in life, is to let the world know. And that's what living for two is. It's a mission I've been on. That's the power of regret, though, right? Like, I mean, I think about these things a lot, and I hate it. I wrote a book about it, and I continue to write about it every single day. And I write in these things about this stuff, but that regret powers me forward, and it powers my purpose today, which is living for two and doing everything I can with my daughter. Regret's powerful. I'm never going to stop. Regret has the power to turn your pain into purpose and to keep pushing and propelling you forward. There is value to regret. I wish we didn't have it, but there is definitely value. I'd love to get your thoughts on what you think the
Yeah, I
power of
mean,
regret is and all that good stuff.
because regret is such a huge burden to anyone. And with the regrets, it basically bi-directional. It could bury you, or it could allow you to harness your regret to do something much equally as powerful as that weight is on your shoulder.
Yeah.
If you look at a lot of the incidents in the world today, not too many people is able to do what you just did, which is to harness that power of regrets. Most people would agree it is such a heavy burden that no one ever wants it. It's such like the highest level of pain that you can ever have to experience. That's why life, in my view, is about minimizing these regrets. And if you had to regret because you didn't, because regret is not something that you chose, it's just something that it came to you.
Right.
It's just by randomness, it came to you. And I mean, this is what you call the atomic bomb kind of deal. People will have regrets here and there, but those are within their control. An atomic bomb is something that you would never have foreseen it. You would never have be able to even remotely be able to be prepared for this kind of an atomic blast. It's just because, it just, you're looking at your first time as a parent, you don't know what to expect. COVID hits at the same time, and then you got a bunch of different things that you have never ever seen before. How would you ever know? Anyone could even see, hey, there's a sense of things I need to do this. Sometimes these things happen. I can't tell you why, and there's no reasons or excuses or any explanation I can give you that would suffice the answer. And for me, regret is very, very powerful. And it is so powerful that you have to be aware that it could bury you. And it did bury a lot of people. Their life is just basically completely turned upside down, and basically they disappear from then on. They could never had the ability to get themselves back up and start doing things and climb on top of that burden versus having that burden bury them in the pit of despair. I mean, you're talking about the greatest despair that you ever can encounter. This is what regrets is about, right? So regret is something that, to me, if you don't want it, but if you do,
You can't get rid of
the
it.
best thing you can do is harness it. Because if you don't harness it, that power will be the death of you,
Yeah.
literally and figuratively.
I mean,
Um,
I can't argue with. Honestly, it makes me, when you're saying that, it made me think of that book I just finished called The Fifth Vital, about this guy's drug addiction story,
mhm.
and going through that. And one of the things that he said was, that I wrote down in my notes on the book, was one of the hardest things to do is to go through life with a secret, right? That's what a regret is. It's something that you don't want to share with other people. It's something you wish you would have done differently, and it's something that you usually keep close to your chest, right? Like, it's hard. Like, secrets are the worst. Like, you don't want to walk around, knowing that you want to be something or do something differently and you didn't, and you just, like me saying all these things in this reflection and the book that I wrote, it's a relief to get it out into the world, to know, like, I fell asleep with my daughter's last hours of breathing. Like, I fell asleep, and I'll never have more time with her ever again. And, like, I mean, I can't explain it. I was just exhausted. I mean, we had gone through so much, and I fucking fell asleep. Like, I mean, I regret more than anything in the world. My wife was still going strong, holding her daughter, over a 7-hour kangaroo session where she slowly had her life expire, right? And, like, I fucking fell asleep on my daughter's last couple breaths in this
Yeah,
world, And
it's a deepest imprint that you will ever have in your entire life.
yeah,
And that's what regret is about, because otherwise it wouldn't have that heavy of a price. It's a huge, huge price. And so, like I say, to me, the only way out is to harness it. If you don't harness it, it will literally, be the death of you.
yeah. I mean,
Because I've seen so many people, so many different circumstances where people just, marriages get broken up, life just turned upside down. People become alcoholic, become drug addicts just because they want to escape from the burden, but that burden never, y- they will never ever able to escape that burden.
no,
Even trying to escape with alcohol and drugs and whatever else that you want to do. I mean,
it
it
doesn't
just
go away.
it just doesn't go away. And so, I mean, it is so powerful. It's one of those things where we have to understand and respect the power of regret, as how important I think it is to put into perspectives. Because if you can't just take regrets lightly, and for me, it's my life purpose is to have as little regrets as possible. And to me, that's a great life. If I have regrets, then that's, to me, it's a hard life. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not hard in terms of physical, but mentally straining. That's the worst kind of hardship you can endure.
So you think of it in like a balance equation, right? The bigger the regret, the more you just get weighed down on this end while the other end's over here. If you turn it into a purpose, I feel like you can at least balance the scales back out.
Well, because it's so heavy, you're gonna have to harness that power to build something equally as great to counterbalance it. Because if you don't have an equally as great positive to counterbalance it, you won't get out of it,
No, not at all. Yeah.
right? And so that's why I'm saying it's not an easy task. It is difficult. It takes a strong will of character to do that.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
it's not something I would wish on my worst enemy, but it's a fact of life, though.
like I said, it happens, and I can't tell you why it happens, but it happens to different people, different circumstances. I don't know. It's just one of those things. This is what we call an atomic bomb. It's not like there are things I can do to avoid it. It doesn't pass just because you want it to. A lot of time, it's just not within your control. And that, to me, that's so heavy.
What are your biggest regrets?
Fortunately, I don't think I remember much,
That's
which is
good.
why, like I said, my life is good. There are things that I do regret, but I don't think it's heavy enough for me to remember it. And that's a good thing,
Yeah.
because, not being able to remember, like, I don't want to live in the past, and I don't want to live too far into the future. I don't want to think about 5 years from now. I mean, most people say, hey, I'm going to plan, 30 years, 100 years from now. Well, that's great. But chances are for you to have the future that you wanted to come to that kind of a plan is almost zero. And so you're just wasting time. So rather, I live in the moments. If you ask me what I did on the weekend, I have to think about it. If you
Yeah.
ask me what I did like 2 weekends ago, it'd be harder for me to try to remember what I did, because I don't dwell on the past as much, and I don't put too much on the future. I probably do maybe 6 months, if any, and if it's too much, then I do the concept of the bird by bird, right? Which is what am I doing today? What's the next thing?
Right.
If I have 10,000 items to do today, that's due today. Even if I don't do these things, right, I would have like past dues and penalties and stuff. Even in that scenario where everything is bothering me, I'm gonna take bird by bird. What's the next thing? What can I do? If I can do like one or two out of 1,000, that's what I do. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna finish 1,000. If I know I can't do it, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And for me, my whole mission in life is to have a minimal amount of regrets when I pass. That's my mission.
Well, that's good. You should tattoo minimal regrets.
Minimal regrets. No
Yeah.
regrets.
No, that's not possible. Like that's the no regrets is an impossibility in my personal opinion.
More regrets.
Yeah.
More regrets.
The funny thing about regrets is like I know there's a saying of no regrets, and I typically would echo what you're saying, of I feel like if you live, as many of your values as you can every single day, then you minimize that
Yeah.
the regret potential. But sometimes you can't control regrets, right? Like
Exactly.
sometimes, like in my scenario, like
Yeah,
nothing I could have done or
I
not
mean,
done.
there's nothing you
Right,
can do to avoid it. I mean, it will come to pass regardless of what you do to it, what the
right,
decisions you make. It's still gonna come. It's something that you're gonna have to make adjustment and adapt. For me, it's like, I don't want regrets, but if I do encounter the unexpected atomic bomb, God forbid, I would know my options. I already chose
right,
my options,
right.
right? Basically, because I've talked to you about it, I see the options in front of me, and rationally at the moment, right, I have pre-made my decisions. So it's make it easier for me to do. It's just like when you're talking about having regrets, right?
Mhm.
So basically, if another atomic bomb were to hit you again, it wouldn't phase you at all because you know how to navigate that atomic bomb. Like,
Well, it would phase me. I mean, nothing can.
right, it wouldn't be as
But for
much
not
of an
as
impact
right,
because
right.
you would minimize most of it just because you knew the decision you would make going into this. And so
Yeah,
similarly, I do have the same kind of framework now with the ability to talk to you, the opportunity to share some of your emotions and experience that I'm a bit wiser in terms of the decisions I can make when something like this happen. I can't tell you that I will be, all unscathed whenever I'm out of this minefield, but I will survive. And
yeah.
to me, that is the hope that we're yearning for. So for me, I think understanding and knowing the decisions that you can make that's optimal for your path is better than not having one.
Agreed. It reminds me of the Stoic concept of premeditated adversity, which
Hmm.
is like, thinking through, hey, if I'm put in this scenario, how do I minimize the regrets, right? That I have in it. And that's
Yes.
this conversation is a premeditated adversity conversation, about like
It
what would happen if you had to go through something where you were going to be chock full of regrets potentially. Like how would you better navigate that and how would you think
right.
through that? So it is an interesting, I don't want to call it coping mechanism, but it is an interesting process to go through to balance out, the power of a regret,
Mhm.
to turn it into the power of purpose, and it reminds me of that my Stroke of Insight book.
Mm.
She could have regretted a lot of stuff that was going on with it, but she constantly mentions, the stroke was the best thing that ever happened to her because it's something that I know I would never say about losing my daughter, but I guess I should never say never because I don't know, maybe in 50 years from now, maybe I will say that. I don't know.
And it's best of you because that's all
Right.
in one. I mean, your strength is your weakness. There's no such thing as one it's a strength and one is a weakness. You just can't. It's just not possible. You have to take the good and the bad with it because with the atomic bomb that you had the potential to build something as great of an equal value as the atomic bomb you received. You have that power to
That's true.
build and create that counterweight, right? And
Yep.
so it's both a blessing and a curse. That's to me, that is always the case on this universe. It's always one thing that is both a strength and a weakness. It's all in one. It's
Right.
never something different. Hey, I'm tall. That means I have a strength, and that means that short is a weakness. That's not the case because tall is a strength and a weakness. Strong is also a strength and a weakness, right? You cannot say that, one is universally a strength and the other one is universally a weakness because you can be honest could be a strength and it also could be a weakness, right?
Hmm.
And so that's the thing. It's the same thing. It's two faces of the same coin. It just depends on context.
Right.
And that's just the way it is because if you don't have the time, your potential is going to be limited. But if you
Yeah.
do, your potential is huge. Whether you decide to harness that potential or not, this is the decision you can make. Other people just don't have the capacity because they don't have the antimatter that you have the space for, right? You're talking about matter and antimatter, you're talking about strength and weakness. It's just a binary opposition, two faces in the coin. It's the same concept,
Right.
right?
It's all
Yeah, because with great power comes great
yeah, responsibility.
responsibility, right?
Right.
Exactly. So that's it comes hand in hand.
I couldn't agree more. Regret's incredibly powerful. I would highly recommend anybody that's curious of exploring this topic to read this book because I thought it was a great book. I learned a lot. Regret's a powerful topic to explore and to learn. It's healthy for people to go explore their regrets. I think it's incredibly healthy. But turning them into action is the best thing you can do, and you can't really do that until you acknowledge them. And then B, start to put in the work to figure out how to bring that counterweight to it. But but once you figure it out, you can change the world potentially. So go back and take a deep dive, reflect, learn, grow. That's
Hmm.
what this journey is all about, and see what regrets may be lingering out there that you need to process. And that would be my suggestion after reading this book. We go check it out.
Hopefully that isn't into regrets.
Yeah, there is no regret, but no,
Okay.
it's yeah. I don't know if you have any final thoughts for the night on this particular topic.
Yeah, regrets can change the world, but it's up to you how you adapt to it.
Yeah, it's a really good thing that you just said that because I remember, I know we shit on like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, of the world and stuff like that, but
I mean, I don't shit on Elon Musk. I don't shit on Steve Jobs and any of those people. I shit on the people who thinks that these guys can
oh,
have the key to their castle.
that's
Regrets.
right, right,
And saying that, it's true. Do I want the things they bring to the world? Yeah, I do. But do I really need them? Not necessarily. That's what I'm saying
right,
is I'm looking from an objective point of view. I don't shit on them for being them. I shit on them for the people who blindly thinks that they hold the key to their castle. Like I said, their success, right? Their blueprint and the way they do things isn't going to be the right thing for you because you are not them and they are not you. So you can't
right,
just take their key and go to your castle and try to open your castle door and try and say, "Hey, it's going to open."
right.
And so to me, that's why I want to make that point. The reason why these guys come up is because everybody is keep bringing them up as this on a
This idol,
pedestal
yeah, right, yeah,
yeah, exactly. It's like
yeah,
don't do that because what they do cannot help you. Only
yeah.
you can
It's
help
not
you.
replicatable for sure.
It's not. I
But
mean,
the
even the Jeff Bezos in the multiverse cannot. I mean, the key in the multiverse, right? The key that Jeff Bezos has right now, give to Jeff Bezos in another parallel dimension. That the key he has will not open the other castle that other Jeff Bezos has. That's
right,
how I'm looking at this. And if you think that's impossible, right? Well, how do you think that their key gonna work on your which when you are completely not even having the commonalities with Jeff Bezos,
right,
right? So don't do that. Live for
right,
yourself. Don't live for someone else. You don't live
right.
in somebody's shadow. Live for yourself. Because even if you do live in somebody's shadow, you're still in the shadows.
Yeah, I
Then you're
mean,
gonna
blaze
have
your own path.
more regrets.
The only reason I brought that guy's name up was I remember some article that's like a pretty famous thing that he talked about of when he was, I think he worked at maybe WC or some large consultancy or whatever.
Hmm.
He probably made some decent money. And he went to talk to his boss when he was wanting to go start up Amazon. And the guy was like, "Don't do it, man." He was like, "You make good money." He's like, "In 10 years from now, you can retire, blah, blah, blah." And he goes, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of he took a look at what he wanted to do and he was like, "Would I regret if I look back on my life in 30 years, am I going to regret taking a chance on this, or am I going to regret not taking a chance on this? And that was what drove him to want to go start Amazon. Honestly, it's not much different than the reason why I just started a new job. If I look
But I
back on
think it's like you asking me, should I take the red pill or the blue pill, right? Even if you take the red pill and then you never took the blue pill, it doesn't matter. You don't
right,
know. There's nothing to
right,
compare against. So even if he took the other job, took the $1 million yearly salary, he won't regret that either. It's a
no,
different outcome. He would never know that Amazon will be a multi-billion-dollar kind of company,
sure,
trillion-dollar company. He just doesn't know that you have to take both pills to know. Just like the fork in the road, right? Robert Frost, right? Take the one, the one less travel or the one that is more travel. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because everybody's thinking about like hindsight. Hindsight, it means like duh, like because the thing is you're asking me like how do I build this, how do I build company, or how we do the blah. It's like, hey,
yeah,
we
right,
have a stroke of genius, blah blah
right,
blah. That's bullshit. We don't
right,
know shit, right? Even 2 years, 2.5 years into it, we still don't know shit. Okay,
right,
it just happened by random chance and having like people that were the same, I guess, mindset and vision that we still doing this together and we enjoying it. That's the only thing.
right,
If Jeff Bezos said, I regret did this or I didn't regret, I would have regretted taking the job, then you're lying. There's no evidence. There's no proof of any shred of proof or evidence that would say that taking the other route he would regret it.
right.
How would
No,
he know? How would he know he regret it? Because there wouldn't be an Amazon,
yeah, no, I mean,
right?
I hear,
So
I
it's a
hear what you're
moot
saying for sure.
point in
Yeah,
terms of, oh, Jeff Bezos this, Jeff Bezos. So what's the point of asking? Well, did you regret like this or that, right? Well, how do I know what to regret? I only regret if I see the result and I didn't want it.
right.
The only
No,
regret he would regret if Amazon was a flop and then he turned into a poor dirt homeless guy. Then he regret not taking the other. That's the only way he know whether he regret. You can't ask a successful person, "Hey, do you regret not taking the other one?" Of
right,
course you don't. It's like asking Tiger Woods, "Do you regret having your dad training you?" Of course you don't.
right.
How would
So
you
yeah,
know? How would you know? Think about it. There's no evidence to suggest that way. You cannot take the blue pill or the red pill and say, "Hey, the red pill is better or the blue pill is better." That's not possible.
agreed. But it's either way, regret is powerful. All right, my brain is officially fried. I'm gonna go pass out right now. My
That's
bad. All right, thanks for joining, everyone. And the question we can leave with you is, how can you harness your regrets to power your purpose? Thanks for joining, and we
we
will
see
see
you.
you tomorrow.
Yeah. Good night.